afternoon. I'm Tara Schumel.
And I'm Natalie St. Ange.
And welcome to our special broadcast of Marquette's presidential address. In a few short minutes, President Michael Lovell will deliver his annual presidential address. This will be Lovell's fifth address since being sworn in as president in 2014.
Major changes have happened in the past year, including a new dorm, new changes in administration, and new projects.
So before the address actually begins, we're going to have an expert after the address who's going to talk a little bit about us. We'll talk to you a little bit about it. Our project editor is going to sit down as our expert to speak. Before we begin that, though, with the little time we have before the address actually starts, we should probably talk about what's going to happen, right? And so we probably should address the, I guess you could say, the elephant in the room, right? Because in October alone, we've had, what, 2 people leave the president's office?
That's right. We've had 2 people leave the president's office. The first one being Dave Lawler, who left October 25th. He was the executive vice president of operations. And then after him, soon after, Dan Myers, provost of the university, he was stepping down on October 31st.
And then with that, obviously we're going to have people step into that role, and we've hired someone in place of Dave Lawler, and then we've hired an interim provost for the meantime, right? Right. Cool.
Kimo Ayun, the former dean of the College of Communication, stepped in as the acting provost following Dan Myers' leave.
And that leads us straight to the master plan that they're constantly fixing up. What's it been, a total of $600 million?
Correct, and we've actually seen some of that into play this semester. We've had the new dorm, we've had an athletic and human performance center being built, and we've even had North Commons between Schrader Residence Hall and the AMU being built.
And that performance and research center, I believe, is happening soon. So it's building faster than ever before.
Correct, yes.
So that'll be happening soon. What else do you think is coming out of this master plan?
That's a great question, something that we might find out today.
Hopefully. And then what's another thing you think we're going to get out of this?
I think maybe President Lovell will talk about the tuition. It was recently hiked up about a little over $2,000, so that'll be something that should be addressed, and hopefully it will be.
And that'll be interesting to see and have him talk about. Because it's constant. I think we covered this recently, how we were saying how it's constantly on the rise, and it's been, this is probably the highest raise it's been in the recent times?
That's correct, yeah. And now the tuition is just a little over $43,000, much different than what it was being $41,000.
And then another thing we know Lovell is going to bring up is Marquette Difference Makers. Do you remember who it was last year?
Yes, it was actually a group of students who helped raise relief efforts for the Puerto Rico hurricane that hit. So
it's awesome. So we'll have to tune in and see what it is. Now we're going to send it over to the Alumni Memorial Union, where Lovell will begin his address shortly.
And welcome. I'm Father Fred Zagone. I'm the acting vice president for mission and ministry at Marquette, and it's a great pleasure to welcome you to the 2019 presidential address. And let us begin with a prayer. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. The new year is both a time of reflection as to what has happened in the past, as well as an opportunity to look to the future. At Marquette, we faced our share of challenges and changes last year. We also saw some of our most significant successes. We are always called to look at what we have done and where we go from here. And in each scenario, God asks us to see God in all the events of our lives, to thank God for the gifts and graces we have received, and to pray that God will lead us as we strive to better ourselves, our community, our world, and particularly Marquette University. This is what an examen is about. This is what we are about as a Catholic and Jesuit university. In the Gospel of Luke, on New Year's Day, we heard these words. The shepherds went in haste to Bethlehem and found Mary and Joseph and the infant lying in the manger. When they saw this, they made known the message that had been told them about this child. All who heard it were amazed by what had been told them by the shepherds. And Mary kept all these things, reflecting on them in her heart. In the scripture, the shepherds are in awe and amazed at what they see. Let us be in awe, looking at all that God has done for us. Let us be amazed with the potential and possibility that God presents to us. And like Mary, let us hold all these things in our heart and reflect on the past, plan for the future, and live for today. We ask God to be with us in our gathering today and throughout this semester. May we see plentiful reminders of God's love for us. And we ask all of these things through Christ our Lord. Amen. That was me. There.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the annual presidential address by the president of Marquette University, Dr. Michael Lovell. My name is Meredith Gillespie, a senior in the College of Arts and Sciences studying international affairs, French, and Arabic, and the president of Marquette University Student Government. It has been a pleasure to work with Dr. Lovell during the past year of my presidency, working together to bring students, faculty, and staff together to make tangible, meaningful, long-term change at our university. MUSG has been busy this past year writing legislation and putting forward innovative initiatives. We recently institutionalized implicit bias training for all student organization leaders during our student organization funding training, a piece of legislation that passed in December and will be implemented this spring. We also passed a recommendation for the Marquette University administration to create a 5-year plan to contribute to Milwaukee's efforts to end homelessness in response to the growing epidemic in our community. Finally, we helped in creating the Jesuit Student Government Alliance under the Association of Jesuit Colleges and Universities. This conference brings together executive leadership from all 28 Jesuit institutions in North America to foster fellowship and create a pathway to implement institution-wide initiatives. Dr. Lovell and countless other administrators have been incredibly supportive in the creation of all these initiatives. We look forward to seeing what collaboration this semester will bring. So, without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce Dr. Michael Lovell, president of Marquette University. Please welcome him to the stage with me with a round of applause.
Well, Meredith, I'm going to thank you for your leadership. You really are an asset to our campus, and we're very thankful to have you here. Wow, it was interesting. When I woke up this morning, I was wondering if anyone was going to show up to the talk today. Well, based on what I see here, we don't have to worry about that. Again, I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your busy schedule at the start of a new semester to kind of hear and listen to the state of the university as we look at where we've been in 2018 and where we're going in 2019. Well, for those of you who have attended my addresses in the past, I always like to start with a segment called Difference Makers. And what Difference Makers is, it's really identifying some extraordinary people on our campus whose actions or initiatives have helped an individual, a group of people, or a community organization in some large or small way, really going above and beyond the call of duty. And we've had many great examples over the last few years. Today I'm going to highlight 3 more, and I think you'll all agree that these are all very much worthy of a difference maker honor. Now in the city of Milwaukee, we literally have thousands of residents who either don't have access or can't afford basic legal services. And our difference maker today really shows the power of collaboration. The Milwaukee Justice Center is a collaboration between the Milwaukee County Courts, the Milwaukee Bar Association, and the Marquette University Law School. And it strives to identify needs within members of our community and provide services that transform the lives of others. And whether it be at the county courthouse where we actually have the center's located, or it be in our mobile legal clinic, we have volunteer lawyers. Many of our law students volunteer every day to really help those in need. Now you may ask, how much impact is the Milwaukee Justice Center making? Well, in 2018, they helped nearly 10,000 people who otherwise would not have access to legal services. That is absolutely remarkable. And And it's a wide range of services provided, whether it be landlord concerns, name changes, guardian, custody, child support, small claims, debt, divorce, many, many things that individuals just really would be struggling in their lives if they do not have access to. I had the great pleasure of going with Dean Kearney from the law school over to the Justice Center this summer, and I could not have been prouder to see our students sitting side by side with the citizens and helping them navigate difficult times of their life. I'd like to bring up Associate Dean Angela Schultz to accept the Difference Maker Award, but I'd also like to bring up those of our partners that are here today from the county courts, from Marquette Justice Center, and the Bar Association to accept the Difference Maker Award. So come on up. Thank you. Everybody gather around. Come and gather around. Yeah. Want to get started. Come around this way. Yeah. Oh, they keep coming. Oh, certainly. People slow down. Come this way. Wow, that's a great group. Okay. Thank all of you for your great work.
Thank you.
Thank you. Certainly. No, certainly. Thank you. Well, our first set of difference makers, we're helping those right in our backyard here in Milwaukee. Our second difference makers, which we're going to honor today, are helping people thousands of miles from our campus. This past June, for the first time in our history, our athletic department offered a service trip for our students. And we had the great opportunity to have 15 of our student athletes travel to Costa Rica to take part in a project called Courts for Kids, where they used their sweat and their hard work to not only let kids play, but to grow. And as you'll see in the next video I'm going to show, I believe they were also transformed by the process.
In May of this year, 16 Marquette student athletes and 3 staff volunteers traveled to Juan y Lama, Costa Rica, less than 15 kilometers from the Pacific coastline of Costa Rica.
We traveled to work with the organization Courts for Kids to build a concrete sports court for the community, working side by side with the residents of Juan y Lama.
We worked from the morning to the afternoon and the evening, moving earth, gathering buckets of gravel and sand, and pouring concrete.
The trip required hard work and heavy lifting, and we left a tangible impact behind.
We as a Marquette family changed the lives of the people in Juan y Lama. Through the hard work and smiles that showed on our faces, we were able to create relationships with people within the community and leave our mark.
These people taught us that everything matters. Every conversation you have, every interaction matters. No time is wasted. Every second of work matters. Everything truly does matter, and you can't take anything for granted. This trip taught me things I will never forget. Memories, experiences, and relationships that will last a lifetime.
Now I'd like to invite up Katie Simmet, our Assistant Athletic Director who helped organize the event, along with our other staff members and our student athletes who do not have practice up on the stage to accept the award. Hey. So I got you out of practice, huh? Yeah. Here, Katie, come on, Katie? Katie, come on. No, you want, no, you. Don't be bashful. Let me see. Can we see? Don't want to get in the way of anybody. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thanks. Now, our last difference maker helped us look at the world with a different perspective. And when I think about what she did, it reminded me that at an academic institution, we often learn as much from our students as they learn from us. Our next difference maker really helped address some of the things that were going on in our society in general. As we know, I think we can all agree, our society is very polarized, and we still have tensions around race and privilege. Our campus is no exception. We are a microcosm of the tensions that exist. As a matter of fact, I don't have to look any further than last April to see what can happen when issues flare up around race and privilege on our own campus. And through her creativity in her playwriting, Milena Moore taught us how we can better understand each other, interact with each other in more positive ways. Inspired by a Facebook post sparked by discussion on what the term white privilege means to different people, Milena wrote her play, White Privilege, that was actually performed here on campus, actually throughout both the fall and brought back to the spring. And it was actually is very well acclaimed, very successful, and was recently selected for the Kennedy Center American College Theater Arts Festival in Madison. And I have a short video to talk about what she's accomplished.
But first, a Marquette student penned a play about racial bias and is getting a big honor. So I'm joined now by the playwright Milena Moore and the Associate Professor of Theater Arts Stephen Hudson Merritt to learn more about this play called White Privilege. And you're getting a lot of attention for it. And now you'll be at a festival in Madison, which I understand is a really big deal. So tell me about that.
So we actually entered into KCACTF, which is a regional and national competition. So we're going to Region 3, which will be in Madison this year. So it's just like filled with like what I understand is a bunch of workshops, and we're going to perform 3 times for how many people?
The theater holds about 130 students and faculty. So the festival itself has about 1,500 people from around a 4-state region. So. And
how does this play bring to light, social injustices? How does it highlight that?
Basically, it goes through what I would call cultural, systemic, and just blatant evidence of like where you can see white privilege. It's episodic, so it goes through little vignettes of scenarios that I either talk to people about or I've experienced myself. To explain to people where they can see white privilege.
What is it like to see students who are so talented come up with these ideas and then perform them?
It's great. This was a play that Milena wrote as part of an acting class December of 17, does that sound right?
Yeah.
And we saw it in performance in the class, and with the faculty we said we need to kind of continue to work on this. So we hired some professionals to work with Milena all last summer to give her a true playwriting experience. So they workshopped it, and it's great. It's really great to see students' really strong work. And whether it's performing or stage managing or designing or writing plays, that's what I'm here for, is to kind of push their good work forward.
Now I was very fortunate to be able to see White Privilege when it ran this past fall, at our Health Fair Theater. And I will just tell you, it was extremely powerful, and it really helped transform the way that I see the world and interact with others. So obviously, Milena was the brain trust of this play, but it took a whole village to actually pull it off. And so I'd like to invite Milena up to accept the award, but I'd also like the cast, the crew, and the faculty members involved in helping make this happen come up on the stage as well. Congratulations. Good job. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Here you go. Here you go. Yeah.
Why not? You can't. Oh, okay.
Okay, thank you. Good job. So, one of the great things we like to do at the President's Address is look back at 2018, the year before, and see the progress that we made. And we've made significant progress in terms of our people, our spaces, and the programs we've offered on the campus. But before I talk about the progress we've made, I think it's always important to take a look at the landscape of higher ed. And if those of you have heard us talk before, we've talked for several years now how higher ed is facing some significant headwinds. And those include things like the economic forces, technology advances, online disruptions, changing demographics of the student population, some non-traditional competition entering the education space, and the obsolete physical assets which we have on our campus. And with all these challenges, it is no wonder that for the second year in a row, Moody's gave higher education a negative financial outlook. And this was primarily due to the fact that there was a low net tuition revenue over concerns over returns on investment of education. And the key indicators are higher ed is going to cost 4% more in operating expenses this year with only 3.7 growth in projected revenue. So we have a negative revenue outlook in higher ed overall. And Moody's also went on to say that most colleges remain focused on containing expenses, and this will lead to long-term challenges. And these challenges will be due to a lack of investments in new academic programs, technology, and housing. 35% of colleges here will face material financial stress, and a growing number of colleges will either close or merge with other institutions. Clayton Christensen, the Harvard business professor who released a book this past fall called Innovative University, talked about an even more dire state, where he predicted that 50% of the 4,000 colleges and universities in the U.S. will be bankrupt for 10 or 15 years. Clearly, we do not want to be one of those 50%. So when we talk about what we're trying to accomplish in achieving beyond boundaries, we talk about thinking differently, acting differently to continue to be the difference. We still want to transform student lives, but we know we have to evolve and change because of the forces that are acting on us. And I will say in 2018, we continued to make those changes we need to make. And we think about achieving our strategic plan beyond boundaries. We know our most valuable asset is our people. And we think about 2018, it was a record-breaking year. Not only did we welcome the largest first-year student class in Marquette history, we also welcomed 73 new full-time faculty members, which we believe to be the largest new faculty cohort in Marquette history. Let's give a round of applause to those new faculty members that are maybe here in the audience today. And I'd like to personally thank you for being on this journey with us. We've also had changes in our leadership, which I'm going to highlight and ask individuals to be recognized. And I think no further than the top of the university, we had two individuals that stepped forth and took on new challenges. The first is our Joel Podluzinski, who was our chief financial officer and assumed the role this past fall as the senior vice president and chief operating officer. Likewise, Dr. Kimo Ayun moved from being the dean of our College of Communications to being the acting provost and executive vice president for academic affairs. Let's give them a round of applause and thank them for being more to these roles. Speaking of stepping into new roles, with Kimo vacating the College of Communication, we have Dr. Sarah Feldner, who has stepped in as the interim dean of the Dietrich College of Communication. Sarah is no stranger to us. She was a professor of communication studies, most recently was the associate dean for research and graduate studies in the college, and really helped lead us through our core curriculum revision. Let's thank Sarah for taking on this additional role. At the end of last year, we were very, very fortunate to name a new chief of police for the Marquette University Police Department, Edith Hudson. Edith has 25 years experience with the Milwaukee Police Department, and she has served in roles such as the assistant chief and actually as captain of District 3, which happens to be our near west side, so she is no stranger to this part of the city. Please thank me in welcoming Edith for coming to Marquette. Tim McMahon is our new Vice President for Advancement. Tim is Hofstra educated and served as senior development roles at both Hofstra and Fordham before moving on, and don't be upset by this, to Villanova. And Tim, at Villanova, Tim served as a senior associate vice president for advancement, where he led the daily operations of a $760 million campaign. We couldn't be more pleased that Tim and his family have moved from the East Coast to Midwest to be part of our community. So thank you, Tim. The next person is no stranger. He was been up here already, and Father Fred Sagone is the acting vice president for mission ministry. And again, he's no stranger because he's been at Marquette for 40 years, and most recently was assistant to the vice president for advancement. And if those of you who have been around, he's everywhere. And whether it's a party or a funeral, he seems to pop up. But thank you, Father Fred, for taking on this new role. The newest member of our community is Dr. Maura Donovan, and she started last week as our Vice President for Corporate Engagement. Maura came to us from the University of Minnesota, where she was the Executive Director of Economic Development for the University of Minnesota. Prior to that, she spent 20 years at Medtronics in the biotech industry, and also served as a Chief Technology Officer in a joint venture between the University of Minnesota and the Mayo Clinic. She brings to us tremendous expertise as we think about ramping up our corporate engagement activities. Unfortunately, she cannot be here today, but when you do see her on campus, make sure you give her a warm welcome. Dr. William Welburn, again, we had another individual who has stepped up to take an increased role on our campus. William has taken on the role as Vice President for Inclusive Excellence. And we've already heard that there are challenges on college campus of being with around diversity and inclusion, and William is really going to help set forth our strategy on making sure that we address the challenges we have on campus to make sure everyone on campus feels included and can be successful. So William, thank you. And last but not least, we have Dr. David Schlabel. He came to us this fall as our first Chief of Digital Learning Officer. David is going to set forth our strategy on how we can increase our online activities and also help educate a greater number of non-traditional students with our campus. David comes to us from the UW system, where he worked at UW Extension and really helped move their online offerings forward. I happen to be blessed to have worked with David when I was at UWM, and we developed the first flex degree program in the country, where we gave individuals with life experience college credit for those experiences. Before that, he was at the University of Illinois, where he was an associate vice chancellor and head of their continuing education. We should be very thankful that David is going to help us transform our university to hit the digital age. So thank you, David. So one area where I think hopefully you've all seen changes in the past year are in the spaces we have on our campus. Again, we continue to provide venues and ways for the campus community to provide input as we implement our master plan as part of our strategic plan. In fact, this past October, Vice President for Planning and Facilities Management, Laura Striggins, hosted 3 sessions so that faculty and staff could share their feedback and learn more about the future projects we have on our campus. More than 200 people participated, and we've gained valuable feedback as we think about what's next in terms of implementing our master plan. When you look around campus over the last years, there's been very visible change to the facade of our campus, whether it be new residence halls, whether it be sacred spaces, or green spaces, academic facilities, athletic facilities. We have made significant strides in trying to transform the campus to giving our students that experience they need to go out and change the world. So we have a short video here kind of highlighting what we did in 2018, what we accomplished, and what to expect as we roll out 2019. Well, I hope you all can appreciate a lot happened in 2018, and I think we also recognize Laura and the facilities team for making great progress for our campus to transform us to where we need to go. So it's great that we have these new buildings, but there's also some fantastic things going on inside those buildings. And as a matter of fact, over the last 2 years, we've rolled out 13 new academic programs, which is just phenomenal. And I've said it before, a typical college campus may have 1 or 2 a year, and to have 13 is just, makes me very, very proud. I can't highlight all of them, but I'm going to highlight 3 today, just kind of signify the different things that are happening on the campus and the great work that our faculty and that our colleges are doing. This past June, we announced a real unique partnership where we launched a new data science institute with the Northwestern Mutual, Marquette University, and UW Milwaukee. It's really a $40 million partnership to develop a data science institute that really helps with talent, research, and technology in Milwaukee. Over the next 5 years, Milwaukee will have a 30,000 person deficit in the tech center. And the idea behind this hub is not only to create the next generation workforce, but to attract other people to the region to help fill the needs of Milwaukee going forward. One of the very unique things about this institute is that it is physically housed on the campus of Northwestern Mutual downtown. It is in the state-of-the-art Cream City Labs, where our faculty, staff, and students are going to interact with employees from Northwestern Mutual, other faculty, staff, and students from UWM to address key challenges that Northwestern faces in their sector, along with other challenges that are more broad-based. I do want to make sure I highlight the work of Dr. Thomas Kazmarek, who's really led the charge here at Marquette. He's an assistant professor of mathematics, physics, and computer science. So let's thank Tom for his great work. Next, I'd like to highlight the Center for the Advancement of the Humanities. Now, this center is starting to gain some significant momentum. This past year, it sponsored an interdisciplinary conference on shame. It also had a course called Transhumanism taught by Professor Catherine Haley and Dr. Jerry Canavan. It also helped create and sponsor Lit Marquette, which is a creative reading program that impacted dozens and dozens of students on our campus. And please mark your calendars or beware for this spring. They will host a 2-day conference celebrating the history of the humanities of Marquette University. And this is really all behind the direction of Professor of the Center Director, Dr. James House. So let's thank James for his effort. Finally, I couldn't give the talk without talking about the advances we've made in innovation and entrepreneurship here on our campus. It's really been remarkable. This year was the first full year that our 707 hub was opened on our campus. And by every measure, it's been a fabulous success. We have 27 student-run ventures currently housed in the 707 hub. We have 11, all of our schools and colleges are represented in those companies that are in the center. We have more than 8,500 individuals from our campus visit the 707 hub last year, and we had over 400 hours of individuals coming out from outside, coming in to help our students and faculty be successful in their endeavors. Well, I do want to make sure I thank Kelsey and Megan. I almost forgot them. They are the associate directors of the 707 and really are the lifeblood of the activities that are going on there. The Kohler Center, which is housed in the 707 Hub, continues to provide tremendous resources for helping students develop prototypes and develop technology so they can be successful. And I thought one of the best things I could do to describe how people feel about the 707 Hub is to have a quote from Amadou O'Gorman, a senior from a college administration. He's the founder of a startup called Bimbly. And what he says, the Kohler Center is a blessing to the Marquette's campus. It's profoundly forward-thinking and cultivates resources, inspiration, ingenuity among students, staff, and community members. I can't thank the Kohler Center staff enough for the opportunities it created and continues to create. There is no doubt the Kohler Center is being the difference. Yeah. And I just want to point out that innovation and entrepreneurship is just not happening in the 707 Innovation Hub. It's happening all over campus. in their college business administration. This fall, they launched a new student-run business program. That program has 7 startups for our students, and the college has committed a $300,000 investment into those startups, and they're all going to be wildly successful. Likewise, we have a dorm fund on campus. It was exclusively for undergraduate student ventures, where students can apply for up to $2,500 for their ideas. We've already funded 18 of those for the dorm fund, and again, all of these are inspiring our students to be innovative and entrepreneurial and really think about the world and how they can interact with it in a different way. I couldn't go today without talking about one of our major successes that we had. We had our first product go on the market from the 7 Innovation Hub this summer. I met for the first time Kevin O'Finn last spring. He was a freshman, and somehow as a freshman he found his way to the 707 Hub and developed a prototype of a product which was launched a few months later. And I think about when I was a freshman, I'm not sure I was anywhere near developing a new product at that point in time. But Kevin remarkably developed the prototype, was able to outsource the production in China, and this July he launched a product called Headphones Plus, which we're going to see a short video about. So if you didn't get the sense from the product, it is a wireless headphone that flashes to the beat of your music. So I am going to invite Kevin up, who's going to make a special announcement about Headphones Plus. So Kevin? Sure.
So thank you, Dr. Lovell, and also thank you, Dr. Lovell, for this special giveaway. So today we actually have 10 sets of the Plus One, the first ever wireless earphones that actually light up to the beat of the music that I was able to invent here at Marquette University and actually be able to get on the market. So right now, if you guys can stand up and actually look underneath your seat or to the seat next to you, you guys might be a lucky winner.
Oh, sure, thank you.
Thank you.
Timothy got one. Okay, go.
Thank you, Dr. Lovell, and congratulations, winners, and enjoy your headphones. And keep lighting up your night with Headphones Plus. Thank you, guys.
Thanks. Thanks, Kevin. Yeah. For those of you who did not get one, I do have one extra one up here on the stage if anybody wants one. But seriously, if you took a look at the packaging, the product itself, it's just remarkable what we were able to produce here on our campus. And Kevin, I cannot wait to see what you do, not only next year, 5, 10 years from now. And remember us when you hit it big, okay? Okay, this brings us to my favorite part of the presidential address, where we make some announcements and really thinking about some big things that will be happening and what to expect in 2019 as we continue to strive to be the difference. Now, the first announcement relates to something that happened 50 years ago on our campus. So as many of you may know about the history of Marquette, that in response to some racial unrest and student concerns, Marquette established the nation's first educational opportunity program in the country. That program later became the federal model for the TRIO program, which, because it was so innovative and so forward-looking at the way we can help students, particularly students of color, be successful on college campuses. So this year, we are going to have a year-long series of events around our EOP program that's being organized by our 50th anniversary steering committee, including by Rhonda Altenberg, Maureen Hoyler, Dr. John Sue, and Dr. William Welberg. And so look forward this coming spring. The group is going to be announcing a whole set of events for the 2019-2020 school year to really highlight something that we are very proud of and still is a very vibrant part of our campus. Now, the next announcement may have those of you my age scratching your head a little bit. We are announcing that we are creating a varsity esports team. Now, let me see your hand. How many knew that we have 40 students on our campus currently representing Marquette in Big East-sponsored esports matches and tournaments? A handful, right? Esports, if you're not familiar with it, it's online competitive gaming, and it is actually the fastest-growing sport in the world. It is actually growing exponentially. In 2018, esport revenues reached $900 million. Audience watching esports was 380 million. The number of esports enthusiasts reached 165 million, and it's predicted within 5 years it will surpass soccer to become the most popular sport in the world. The League of Legends, which is one of the games they play, World Championships, filled at Beijing's Bird Nest, 80,000 seats. The seats sold out in 2 minutes, and 60 million people watch this online. So clearly, not all of us may understand this phenomenon, but it's happening, right? And so what we're very excited to announce today is that Marquette Esports will be the first in the nation to be run by a major conference Division I athletics program. And I want to thank particularly Scott Kuykendall, our Senior Associate Athletic Director, for guiding us through this process. But what do we expect in 2019? Well, this coming fall, Marquette Varsity Esports will have our first tryouts. We're going to hire a coach. And we're going to have regular practices, and so our students will represent Marquette not only at Big East tournaments, but tournaments around the country. And another thing to look forward to is working with corporate partners and some donors. We're going to develop an area for the varsity esports team to practice. And when they're not practicing and using it, we'll open up to the general student body so they can take part and use the facilities as well. So again, this is something that I think we're all excited of what it may be or may become, but we're excited that Marquette is on the forefront of this interaction in college athletics. Now, our next announcement goes back deep within our history. And for those of you who know our history, know that Marquette University, we're very proud of the fact that we were the first Catholic university in the world to enroll women. And Reverend James McCabe, SJ, was somebody who I really think was someone who we should look forward as really being a forerunner in terms of his commitment to educating women. And he actually did this without permission from Rome. He got permission 3 years later, actually, the fact. So he did it and then asked for permission later. But we also had we believe the first woman graduate, Daisy Wilcott, from a Catholic university in the world. And today, we are very, very pleased to announce, following in those footsteps of our predecessors, the establishment of an Institute for Women's Leadership. Now, this institute will be launching in July 1st, 2019, and it is being made possible from a $5 million investment from the Thomas J. Rolfes Family Foundation. Now, we are very fortunate to have 3 members of the Rolfes family with us today, Claire, Tom, and Janet. I'd like you to please stand so we can thank you appropriately. Now, the Institute itself is going to be research-based and is going to be housed in the Office of Research Innovation, and it will also include our current Women's Innovation Network and the JCI Marquette Women's Colleagues Program under the direction of Jean Hassenlop. And just briefly, what the Institute is going to focus on, again, it's going to be research, leadership development and programming, network opportunities related to women's leadership and gender equity, and education in the workplace. So we're very, very proud to be launching this institute at Marquette. And again, going back to our roots of really supporting women and helping them achieve their goals and their dreams. So this brings us to our last announcement. And those of you who were here a year ago probably remember that I announced the President's Challenge. And what the President's Challenge was, it was a challenge for our faculty and staff and those in our community to address inequities in our community. And they could be around health, education, safety, housing, transportation, and economic prosperity. The idea would be we had an interdisciplinary team of our faculty and staff members on our campus working directly in collaboration with community members who understood the challenges within the neighborhoods they were in and actually were located that would be for those who would be impacted by the projects. Before going on to the announcements, I do want to say that I want to personally thank a group of people that over the last year has shepherded the President's Challenge process to fruition. They include Dr. Dan Bergen, Janelle Romano, Timothy Theograjan, Dr. Gene Hasselop, and apart from JCI, Anne Marie Scobie-Polaject. These individuals not only went out and informed the community in our campuses about the opportunity, they helped form the teams, they helped the proposals get written, the proposals get in, and they helped the proposals get reviewed. So let's thank them for their effort this year. Now, if we take a look at the President's Challenge, by the numbers, as an engineer, I love numbers. We had 2 community information sessions where we went out in neighborhood houses and talked about the opportunity and how we wanted to partner with the community. We had two team formation building events where we had individuals from our campus and from the community get together and get to know each other and share ideas and really be able to put ideas forward. At the end of the day, we had 8 proposals that were submitted, and I will just say that each of the 8 proposals were worthy of funding. It was a very, very difficult choice to choose the winner. But what I'm most proud about is that we had 37 faculty members involved in those proposals and more than 40 community organizations represented. So when we envisioned what this could be, we accomplished that directly. And today, we come to the end of that journey where we're going to award $200,000 to one of the projects over 2 years. And I will just say, I'm going to bring Grady Crosby up from our partner, Johnson Controls, who is co-funding this with us, to make the official announcement of the award. But again, I will just say, when you see the award winner and what they are bringing to the table, when I thought about what this might be and we made this announcement, they exceeded all my expectations. So Grady?
Thank you. I definitely appreciate the applause because I did put on my Marquette tie today. So thank you very much for that, yes. A year ago, Johnson Controls Foundation started on a brand new journey along with Dr. Lovell, Marquette University, and the President's Challenge. And so on behalf of Johnson Controls Foundation, our president and CEO, George Oliver, and the over 120,000 associates of Johnson Controls all over the world, we want to thank you for allowing us to be on this journey with you. And I'm humbled that you share this podium with us today. Since that time, I've watched as Dr. Lovell has continued to inspire everyone to be the difference. And I'm confident that this year's challenge winner will continue to spark change and transformation in some of Milwaukee's most challenged areas. The energy, enthusiasm, the innovation and collaboration has been nothing less than awe-inspiring, and it's been remarkable. So congratulations again to all of the faculty members, students, and members of our community and stakeholders who have participated and made this journey an incredible one. So, without any further delay, I'm very pleased to be able to announce the inaugural winner and awardee of the very first Marquette University's President's Challenge, the proverbial drum roll, if you please. And the winner is Dr. Amy Van Hecke and the New Step Clinic. And a round of applause. And so I direct your attention to the video screens to see what the New Step Clinic, the Next Step Clinic is all about.
There's a great need in Milwaukee, and particularly in areas like Metcalf Park, where we're located, for mental health support for children and families. Our children and our families often experience the trauma that's associated with living in poverty, and that could be food insecurity, domestic violence, neighborhood violence, and because of that, they need access to mental health support and services.
You know, the trauma experienced as a child or an adolescent affects these children as adults. And so now you have adults who are traumatized as children, who are still affected by that trauma, that are having difficulty adjusting, raising their own kids, and it's this sort of vicious cycle.
We don't have enough resources for the issues that a lot of our families are faced with. So I'm glad that we are on that path and that we are connecting with agencies in the communities that has the trust of people in the community.
We wanted to bring services that families desperately need in Milwaukee to Milwaukee. And what we're seeing is that a lot of the families, they have to leave the county in order to get services for their families. And in a lot of cases, there's a 6-month to a year waiting period.
Repeatedly, we're hearing from families of years-long waiting lists to get in for treatments and diagnoses. And when you have a child with a problem, that's not acceptable. So we really wanted there to be something where they could really go right now and get the services that they need. At the very base level, we are proposing a new clinic. But what we need with this money, what we're able to use this money for, is to hire staff to really oversee the operation of the clinic.
The need was so tremendous that the timing of the approval of the funds is going to quick start us versus having to go, you know, another year or so to seek other support.
The overall goal of the proposal is to go into the community, work with community partners, and provide professionally competent screening and evaluation and intervention to try to meet the vast need of families and kids in that neighborhood.
In the call to propose, there was criteria saying that the team had to consist of faculty and community. But at the same time, it was based on our history of having worked together. So we were praying for success of this project.
Amy was so excited because they hadn't found the right space for this kind of program, and they knew it was a program that was really needed and could serve a lot of children and families. So when she came and saw our space, which was designed as a clinic space and is currently empty, we just knew that it was the perfect fit for this program.
So the name, the Next Step Clinic, I believe it's an awesome name because I take it as next step as this is the next step in the process, but at the same time, it's going to guide you to the next step after that. It offers hope.
My reaction when I first heard that Next Step Clinic was awarded was my wheels just started turning. You know, what are all the possibilities for us, for all the people that are on board with this, and it's definitely going to open up so many doors and opportunities for the families in our community and also the people who are providing services.
At Next Door, we provide a lot of services to our children and families, but this clinic will be a missing piece where we can really address the mental health needs and developmental needs of our children and their families.
Where we can really shine in this and where Marquette really can bring a unique kind of aspect to this is that students will be doing this work under the supervision of Marquette faculty and of employees of the clinic that we hire. But by involving students in this clinic, so having this clinic be a training site for students, we are training more and more professionals. So the more professionals we have that have this training and how to work with these children and families, the easier it will be for people to get the services they need, right? So it's like a short-term solution. Let's open the brick and mortar clinic now. Let's train these professionals for the future. And so we learn from each other, we work together, and we address one of these huge problems, which really is that there are not enough professionals and places to go. So what a gift.
So, I'd like to bring up Amy Van Hecke and all of our partners to accept this $250,000 award. Congratulations. 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 Wow. You're gonna need 2 rows. Yeah. Congratulations. 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 Great work. Over here. Oh, Phil, make sure everybody.
All right.
Thank you. So that concludes the formal part of the presidential address. We are going to bring up Dr. Michelle Manleaf, the chair of the University Summit, to help us with some questions. I know some have submitted online beforehand, and then we'll welcome them from the audience. Dr. Michelle.
Good afternoon. I'm Michelle Manleaf, the chair of the University Academic Senate, and I'm here to help with the question and answer portion of this year's address. They've done something a little bit different this year to kind of start off the question and answer session. We have requested questions from the university community that were submitted before this afternoon's events. We're not going to read every question that came in. It's just kind of to get us started. We picked a few questions that were most common, asked multiple times by multiple people. And as we get started, if there are members in the audience who want to ask questions, please come forward to the microphone so that when I finish with these questions, we can go forward with any questions that are here in the audience. So the first question is, of course, on a lot of people's minds, is when will the search for the new dean for the College of Arts and Sciences begin? And what is the anticipated timeline for when we will have a new dean?
So we actually have, obviously we have a couple of positions we're going to be starting searches for. And the first one that will precede the Arts and Science team will be for a new provost. And the idea, we've talked to our consultants, and they suggest that we start a provost search in March. And we've talked to the Academic Senate about kind of the rationale for doing that, with the idea we would wrap up the provost search sometime in the September timeframe. A few weeks or maybe a month after we launch the provost search, we would then start the Arts and Science dean search so that the new provost would then have input in hiring the new Arts and Science dean. I also wanted to point out that Chemo is working on addressing an interim Arts and Science dean once Rick uses up his tenure at the end of June. He's been meeting with department chairs and associate deans. He's going to have some forums with faculty just so we can name their position as well. But we would hope and anticipate that both the provost search and the Arts and Sciences searches will be concluded sometime next fall.
Thank you, Dr. Lovell. The second question is, we've received a few questions about the master plan and when specific components, we've seen a lot of the past components, such as a new rec center, will be built.
So, as many of you know, the master plan is, it's a plan. As Laura will probably attest, it never goes exactly as you originally envisioned in the front end. And so the buildings that are developed in the master plan are sequenced by two things. One is the availability of the site, and the second is the availability of funds. And so, as you can tell, depending on the fundraising that happens, whether the site's available, projects sequence certain ways. So when you think about the new Health and Wellness Center, it's still one of the top priorities of our campus. We still know we have the site available, on where it was originally located, so it's just a matter of time of us securing the funds and being able, the design process is already happening, so whenever we are ready to go, we'll be able to hit the ground running. But again, all the projects you saw in the master plan, they're not all going to look and be the exact site that we saw them in, but what's important is what's happening inside in the programming. That's what's important in ensuring that we stay true to what we want to develop and help the campus move forward.
Thank you. The third question is, how will the university address growing concerns over tuition increases?
So obviously, you saw in my presentation, higher ed is facing some significant financial challenges, and we saw the prediction that higher ed is going to cost us 4% more to conduct our business this year. And so obviously, one way we can offset the increased expense for our campus by increasing our tuition, but we also understand that the challenge with doing that is we are putting a further burden on our students and family. And so we are committed to trying to keep those tuition increases as low as possible, but also increasing our scholarship support. One of the things when Tim McMahon will tell you, we have a big push when we think about our campaign coming forward. Our Nation Promise is something that we're trying to raise more and more money for scholarships, particularly for first generations and students of need, so so they have access to Marquette education like we were founded for way back for first generation German immigrants.
Thank you. So now we'll take questions from the audience. Do we have any questions? Okay. So Dr. Mulchert has a question.
Okay, Tim.
Well, thank you, President Lovell, for the presentation today. And I think many of us are very, very pleased with all the positive developments on campus that you talked about today. There's so many things that are positive and great going on that I hate to address one of our challenges, but you also alluded to the significant amount of transition with regard to academic leadership that's occurred on campus just recently. And in December, I know you came to Academic Senate and provided some explanations for why these changes needed to be made. I was wondering if you could elaborate. This is, of course, central to the mission of the university. The problems needed to be addressed, and can you comment on the problems that you saw that needed to be addressed and where we might be headed in this whole area?
So obviously, when you have leadership changes at the level we had, that brings a lot of uncertainty on the campus. And I think, when you think about my role as a leader, I have to make sure we have the right people in the right places to get us to where we need to go. And I will just say that, we need the highest level of functionality at the top of the university for it to filter down throughout the organization. And we had some challenges with myself and the top leadership team functioning in the most efficient manner. And so some changes that need to be made. And, obviously we care greatly for people, and you don't like to make changes with personnel unless you have to. But, as the leader of the institution, I really felt that we needed a change, looking at the challenges that we were facing and all the things that we needed to accomplish going forward. And that being said, the individuals we have on board are extremely talented. I'm extremely excited about them. And the people that have left were also very talented. But it's just a matter of, it takes both talent and chemistry to accomplish great things. And that's, really why I think the changes need to be made. Yep.
Phil Rossi, Theology Department. Mike, I think you know what the question I'm going to ask is, because I've asked it now. I think this is the fourth time I've asked it, which is, as the very beginning of your presentation indicated, higher education is facing major challenges. And from my perspective, I think what's crucial component of those challenges is that we, not just simply Marquette, but higher education in general, has succumbed to the commodification of knowledge. That, we, perhaps not intentionally, but even some of the ways we talk about higher education has turned it into, and seemingly only into, a product. And it strikes me that engaging that challenge isn't simply a question of coming up with strategies. It's coming up with a new vision of who we are and how we operate. And it seems to me that that's an issue or a clustered set of issues in which it would be very, very important for us as a university community concerned not only with the future of Marquette, but also with the role of higher education within an increasingly fragmented culture, need to talk about. So again, my question once again is, when are we going to start having that conversation?
Well, I would argue that we already are. And first we have to understand that technology is, making knowledge available to us at our fingertips. And so what do we do with that knowledge? And how do we transform our students' experience so that they take away the skills that then when they go out in the world, they're going to make a positive change? And so we still need to stay true to our liberal arts humanities, the ethical behavior. But at the same time, we have these conversations. We have new modalities of teaching, new ways that students learn. How do we transform the way we do things to make sure that as higher ed evolves, that we are still providing that experience for our students? And I think that's a conversation for all of us to have. And I think each individual department, as we talk, we heard what David Schlabel is going to be helping us transform our campus to do more online, for more non-traditional students. How do we ensure that we are giving those same service opportunities, those same experiences for our students to be minimum for others in those new modalities? And so, I don't have an answer. I think that there's not a direct answer. It's something we have to have a dialogue and a conversation. But I'm hoping that the Center for Advancement of Humanities can also be an important part of these discussions and roll the things into those discussions along with, as we individually, as departments and schools and colleges talk about, what the future of the way they deliver coursework, how do we ensure that we're still doing it in a way that fits true to our mission?
I'd just like to make one kind of comment inviting people to think about it, okay? Because I think part of the problem is I'm not sure if we're asking the right questions. I mean, all the questions that you've suggested are very good questions. It's and maybe this is my training as a philosopher, that somehow or other it becomes very, very important to ask the right questions before you can even search for the appropriate answers. That's one comment. The other thing is I'd just like people to think maybe there's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. And it might very well be that the role of universities and higher education has at least as much to do with initiation into the ways of wisdom as it has to do with acquiring knowledge. Because wisdom gives guidance on how that knowledge is used. And I think we need to have a conversation about that. Thank you.
Yeah.
So it looks like there are no further questions. So at this point, I'm going to turn it back to President Lovell for his closing remarks.
Yep. So I just want to make you all aware of some upcoming events we have on our campus. Just in a few short weeks, we're going to have Mission Week, National Marquette Day. I hope cheer us on for a win against Villanova. We're also having, for the first time, based on some suggestions of our students, we're going to have the President's Panel on Diversity and Equity on February 26th. And then we are having a Beyond Boundaries community conversation again on March 18th. And these are all opportunities for us to have dialogue and discuss issues directly facing our campus. So without further ado, I'd like to invite all of you to join me outside for a reception and a chance for us to speak and communal with each other. So thank you very much for being here.
And that was President Lovell giving his annual address in the AMU ballrooms. Now let's send over to Natalie in the newsroom to talk to an expert who will help us break down what was just said. Natalie, what you got for us?
Thank you, Tara. I'm here with Matthew Martinez, our expert on this, as well as our projects editor, to see what he has about this presidential address. Welcome, Matthew.
Hi, how's it going?
Pretty well, thank you. So what'd you think?
You know, I think that really the big takeaway from this year's address is that the university is getting very serious about taking some of their diversity initiatives to the next level. They're announcing the beginning of this new Women's Institute for Women's Leadership, I should say, $5 million donation that's making that possible. That's going to increase some of the different things in some of the different programs here. You have the First Presidential Challenge Award that's going to give $250,000 to Next Step. That's going to really benefit the community around here, and I think that's really, really important when you consider the fact that, you know, we're hearing more about distressed zip codes in the immediate vicinity of the university. We're hearing more about kind of the dynamic between the surrounding community and Marquette, and I think the university has definitely deemed it very, very important that we have a very visible role in trying to improve some of the things that are going on around us. And even with the Presidential Difference Makers Award, Milena Moore getting that for her play White Privilege, which was a very, very important piece of work that addresses a lot of the different aspects of socioeconomic and racial disparities, not just within Milwaukee, but nationwide. They're really starting to gear up some of the things that they've been talking about. So.
Yes, I would definitely agree.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll be able to see more diversity efforts throughout this year?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that the stuff that was mentioned in the address is definitely going to be the most visible and concrete things, but you're seeing an increase in these things across the board. President Lovell's been very involved in his trauma initiative recently. I'm sure that's going to continue into this year. You have different programs like health sciences that are sending students into underprivileged areas to learn about things that they might not have experienced within their own lives yet. And honestly, there's no telling what exactly we're going to see out of the diversity initiatives going on at the university. Obviously, we can't say whether or not this next class coming up is going to be more diverse until we see the enrollment numbers, but with the efforts that we have with the current community, students that are here and faculty that are here, you're seeing an uptick across the board as well. Yeah.
For sure. During his address, he did mention that this class was one of the biggest classes they've seen. Do you think we'll be able to see a bigger class next year, even with the tuition increase that just happened?
You know, I think that's really going to be up to the enrollment office and some of the different things going on there. Obviously, tuition's become a very hot button issue. You ask anybody on campus, they're a little bit upset about the fact that they have to pay $2,000 extra, but I really don't think that's going to slow enrollment down necessarily. I think a lot of people are probably going to consider that to be something that is kind of ancillary to them, as if I'm a prospective freshman, I mean. But, you know, I think that what's really going to be important is that students need to be able to see where this extra $2,000 is going every semester, because I think a lot of people, that's their main complaint, is they are not aware of what exactly we're paying more money for. If they can produce some more tangible results on that, I would imagine that most students here will calm down about it and it won't scare off too many incoming freshmen.
I would definitely agree. And then the master plan, do we hear anything about that?
You know, not really. I can't say that we did. The really big announcement, I think, probably was the fact that we're getting a new esports team, but we haven't heard a lot about updates on some of the different construction projects that are going on. We do know that there's going to be a new esports facility built to accommodate that team, but insofar as some of the other projects going on, it's kind of been radio silence in this address.
All right, well, thank you so much, Matthew. That's it from here. We'll send it back to Tara at the studio.
That concludes our special broadcast of President Lovell's annual address. We'll continue the coverage of MarquetteWire.org. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Tara Schuell, and have a great evening, Marquette.